Okay. Can everyone hear me now? Hopefully. There we go. We love some good old technical difficulty stars to start off the show. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the most interactive wrestling show on the interweb. Welcome back to Wrestling with Omer. We've got a lot to talk about because, quite frankly, a lot of stuff went down this week in the world of AEW, WWE. They're building up to Saudi Mania 44. We now know some of the things that went down allegedly. Again, I say allegedly because we're hearing from two different camps right now about what happened exactly at the Brawl Out, at All Out. We'll talk about that, but want to give first a big shout out to both Surf Wrestling and MGT who are in the chat. Welcome to you both. Guys, if you're just joining us, and outside of those two, if you're joining us for the first time, ask your questions in the chat. We're going to get to them. I try to be as interactive. This is basically kind of like a Q&A type show. I usually stick to one topic that kind of guides the conversation, but we can kind of just go and talk about whatever we want. As you guys put the questions in the chat, I'll just answer them to the best of my ability. I am an analyst. I am not a reporter, so don't ask me for scoop because I have none. But what I do have are a bunch of ideas. So go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss another one of my great ideas. Anyway, we got Surf Wrestling in the chat saying, before we talk about CM Punk, let's talk about Uncle Howdy. Let's do that real quick because I do know a lot of people are very lukewarm about Bray Wyatt and the current iteration of what he's doing. I understand that there are people who kind of wanted him to return as The Fiend. I also understand there are people who want him to return as cult leader Bray Wyatt. What we're getting now, it seems, is a completely different character and an evolution, you could say, in Bray Wyatt's abilities or his development, I should say, as a character. And I think it's a good thing because they could rehash The Fiend, which, as much as I love The Fiend and I love the idea of horror movie final boss Bray Wyatt being a demon, like, I know there were some people who thought it was too corny for them. They didn't like spooky Bray Wyatt. I loved spooky Bray Wyatt. It was amazing when he was allowed to be The Fiend and do stuff to the best of his abilities. When they had him walking around with big mallets and you know, losing to Goldberg and things like that, it soured me on him quite a bit. But I like the Uncle Howdy stuff for right now. In my opinion, it captures my attention. What's happening now with the Uncle Howdy stuff is capturing my attention, and that's a good sign of things to come. Now, whether or not it continues to be like that and whether or not I continue to care hinges solely on WWE's presentation of whatever this character is going to be, whether we're going to get the Wyatt Six, whether we're going to get, you know, a multi-personality type of character. Either way, I'm interested, and I really do want to see what happens next because, again, rehashing The Fiend would have worked and would have sold WWE a lot of merch. People like me would have been interested in it, but I think even Bray Wyatt kind of knows that maybe it's time to try something new and kind of evolve the character a little bit more. We got Surf Wrestling in the chat also saying, I believe Uncle Howdy is Bo Dallas due to the cross-ear ring, and also they teased Vincent of Ring of Honor, former of the Righteous. So Vincent was backstage at Raw, apparently. I do know that. There was a report that came out that he was backstage at WWE events. So it's expected that he's signed. I know Matt Taven and Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis have signed, apparently, it looks like, with AEW. Whether or not that's a Ring of Honor type deal or an AEW exclusive type deal, we don't know. We know that there are going to be talents moving back and forth between those two companies, which are basically one company right now. But we will see Vincent in WWE. You would think very soon, and I assume he would also have something to do with the Wyatt Six or Wyatt, whatever Bray Wyatt's going to be. Surf Wrestling and MGT are giving each other greetings. We love to see that. Guys, put your questions in the chat. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We'll get to the CM Punk thing in just a minute. Just want to get through some of these chats. Surf Wrestling says, I think November 18th, Bo Dallas returns with Liv Morgan as Abby the Witch and December 15th, Vincent as The Fiend. I would not want to see someone else play The Fiend. I think Vincent could come back and be like an iteration, another iteration. I don't know. He could be something else. Kind of like how Uncle Howdy is not like a Bray Wyatt character, something that Bray Wyatt previously played. It's a completely new thing. I would like to see them just go in a new direction rather than having someone else play The Fiend. I think that's a Bray Wyatt character. That's a Bray Wyatt character. And I think if you're going to make a stable out of this, if you're going to make the Wyatt Six, have them be other things. Have them be like completely unrelated to what he was doing before. We got Surf Wrestling also saying Vincent is an indie wrestler 3 times before he debuted to WWE December 15th, which would be Friday Night SmackDown. Very well possible. We got MGT saying no one is going to play The Fiend. I agree. Surf Wrestling says, I know they're going to continue to tease Vincent because he was booked for Beyond Wrestling and BRCW from Florida Indie Wrestling and Atomic Wrestling Indie match. Well, you know way more about this than I do, apparently. Surf Wrestling says, Uncle Harper isn't overweight, so I can see him coming in as Mr. Vincent. I think you mean Uncle Howdy. R.I.P. Brody Lee / Luke Harper. But, guys, let's talk about the news that, I'm not going to lie, I'm gushing to talk about right now. It's literally what has been keeping this channel going for the past number of months. Let's talk about CM Punk, the fallout from the brawl out after All Out. There's a lot to talk about here because we've now heard officially from CM Punk's side through Nick Hausman, who, for those of you who might not be as familiar, Nick Hausman from Wrestling Inc. does a lot of great reporting for them over there. He was actually the person at the media scrum that CM Punk initially went off on when he came and did the press conference. He went up there. He's eating his muffins. And he goes, "Hey Nick, who'd you used to do stand up comedy with?" And Nick goes, "Scott Colton." "Are you still friends with Scott Colton, Nick?" But big ups to Nick Hausman for this reporting. But we do have an insight into the CM Punk camp and what their perspective of the brawl out was, and what we have learned might surprise you, as we now learned that one of the big motivations of CM Punk getting into this fight was apparently Larry the Dog. So for those of you who are not familiar, Larry the Dog was backstage in CM Punk's locker room following his match and following the press conference where he went off on the Elite, Hangman Adam Page, and the entire company. So according to CM Punk's side here, the Elite kicked down the door, and when they did that, when they kicked in the door, they this is again CM Punk's side. So when they kicked down the door, apparently the Elite had hit Larry the Dog with the door, and that caused 2 of his teeth to be loosened, and eventually, apparently sometime after All Out, the teeth had to be removed because they were that damaged. This is, again, according to CM Punk's side and this report from Nick Hausman of Wrestling Inc. It was revealed that during an appointment with the vet a few days later, that 2 of his teeth were removed and knocked loose. So, there you go. This is CM Punk's side sticking to their story of the door was kicked in, that that Nick Jackson, Matt Jackson, and Kenny Omega kicked in that door when they brought in Mega, the chief legal officer of AEW, in with them as well. So there is that report here, and that seems to be one of the, you could say, it's one of the motivating factors, I guess, in CM Punk acting defensively in that he saw his dog was apparently hurt and hit by the door, and he went off. So, and again, this is CM Punk who's already had a match, or there's blood in his face. The adrenaline is pumping. He knows he's injured. He just went out there electric in front of the masses in a suburb of Chicago, in Schaumburg, Illinois. So there's that. We have another report, again, from Wrestling Inc.'s Nick Hausman, who did really good reporting on what Punk's perspective was, or Punk's side's perspective was. And I'm just gonna read the aggregation. This is by Jack Atkins from Cultaholic Wrestling. So basically, it says, it's no secret by now that the tensions were very high ahead of CM Punk and Hangman Adam Page's AEW World Title clash at Double or Nothing 2022 after Punk felt disrespected by Page after his, quote, workers' rights jab during the promo. Whilst Punk would eventually take multiple shots at Page on the mic and during All Out's post-event media scrum, reports from Wrestling Inc. state that Punk's camp feared tensions would boil over in the ring, with Punk reportedly fearing that at their Double or Nothing main event clash would devolve into a shoot fight. The match obviously went off without a hitch, and that did not happen. This kind of clears up what CM Punk meant in his press conference, in his tirade during that press conference, when he said that Adam Page jeopardized the main event of the company's first ever $1 million gate in Double or Nothing. So that kind of clears up what he was talking about, because there was a lot of talk, like there were a lot of people confused, myself included, what exactly he was talking about. It seems now that Punk was apparently talking about the fact that he feared that in that match, Hangman Adam Page might try to not do business. So I want to be clear here. The report says that he feared that it would devolve into maybe a shoot fight. I know that other people, including Dave Meltzer, I know Will Washington, kind of interpreted it a little bit differently, as there was a lack of trust between Hangman Adam Page and CM Punk. That much is obvious. CM Punk most definitely did not trust Hangman Adam Page. And whether it was a shoot fight developing, I think the bigger fear would be, maybe someone sandbagging you. The bigger fear would be, not making him look good and things like that. And by all accounts, Hangman Adam Page is not someone who has been known to do some things like that. Again, this is someone who is widely respected backstage at AEW, according to all reports. The only real controversy that has surrounded Hangman Adam Page in his entire career was that there was a time where he was really laying in the buckshot lariat, apparently pretty aggressively. And when he would hit it, he would apparently hit people very hard. And people were actually kind of afraid to tell him about it. Well, not afraid. They felt bad about telling him about it because they didn't think he was doing it on purpose. Obviously, he was just working, and he was working very stiff. So he eventually, Arn Anderson, famous stories, Arn Anderson came up to him and said, "Oh, you got to reel that son of a gun in, kid." And Page, by all accounts, felt terrible about that. So that kind of speaks to Page's character that we know of again. But that's another part of this story from the Punk camp, that they felt that Hangman Adam Page was going to, they just could not trust Hangman Adam Page, or CM Punk could not trust Hangman Adam Page in the main event of Double or Nothing. Again, clearing up that line he had of he almost ruined the first $1 million gate in this company's history. I will get to my own personal opinions in detail later about all of this, but that's kind of where the Punk a side of it ends. There's a few other notes, obviously, involving the fact that now the investigation is over. So the investigation, it appears to be over. We know that the Elite were back at Dynamite this week. We saw the vignette where the Elite were kind of Thanos snapped out of existence, and it's kind of teasing their eventual return ahead of Full Gear in just a few weeks. So we will, so again, all this kind of come to a head, and the direction that this is all going in, or has gone in, apparently, is CM Punk's out, and the Elite are coming back into the fold. So that's just what it is. We have another report from, I believe, Nick Hausman, that basically states that, I'm pulling it up right now, that CM Punk Or sorry, this is Dave Meltzer. I apologize. This is Dave Meltzer. There's a lot of reports that came out. It was big ones from Wrestling Inc. and then Wrestling Observer, which we'll get into the Wrestling Observer ones in a minute. But Meltzer said that Punk will not be returning to AEW, alleging that there were several big names in the company who were saying that Punk will not be back. And this kind of gets into some other great report or some other interesting notes. Apparently, according to Fightful and I believe Wrestling Observer as well, Chris Jericho went up to CM Punk after the brawl had happened, and he called him a locker room cancer. So all of the talk of we had heard rumblings, I should say, of people high up or talent high up or high profile talent is what I'm trying to say. High profile talent being very cold on CM Punk and feeling like he was the problem here and that feeling that he was bad for the locker room. It would seem that Chris Jericho, according to multiple sources now, and maybe even himself, if you kind of read through Meltzer's reporting of this, it would seem that CM Punk, Chris Jericho was the one who has been kind of saying that CM Punk was the problem and has been bad for the locker room. And you could make the argument that it's true because CM Punk got taken out of the locker room. What happened? Recent weeks, we've seen Bryan Danielson, we've seen Jon Moxley, and Chris Jericho all step up. So there's that side of the reporting. I'm going to get to some of your chats, and then we're going to go into more detail about what the Elite's perspective was, the fallout of this, and just the mess that this is. And here's the thing. Outside of either CM Punk officially getting released or him coming back, some major development like that, I really do hope that this is the finality of this, because as much as it's great to get views and clicks and people listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a 5-star review if you haven't already. As great as that is and as fun as that is for me, it's hard to continue to talk about it. It's just like beating a dead horse. We've gotten so much news over the past few days about this that it's literally cannot ignore it. And I just kind of wanted to cover it in more long form here on this show. So that's what we're doing here. We have a few chats that we're going to go through. Surf Wrestling says, the whole Larry situation sounded like he was trying to sue the Elite about his dog. Surf Wrestling says, I knew automatically that the Larry BS was lies. MGT says, everyone is at fault here, and Hangman Adam Page is a little bit at fault too, because it started with a promo he cut on Punk a while back. So, very quickly, if CM Punk's problem, if all of this stemmed from that Hangman Adam Page promo, and that was it, and that was the crux of all of this, then shame on CM Punk. Genuinely, shame on CM Punk. And I know people are gonna get mad. And I'm not saying you're a CM Punk defender, MGT. I'm not talking to you directly, but there are people out there who would say if you think Hangman and Page is innocent and all this, and you're a little AEW mark, blah 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 blah, little elite mark. So if seriously, if CM Punk, if his skin is that thin, after all the pipe bombs he's cut on people, after all the shoot work, all that stuff he said, right? And he said in promos in the past, if that one line, right, workers' rights, could be interpreted a lot of ways. CM Punk seemed to have thought that it was interpreted in one specific way. Apparently, he did talk to Hangman Adam Page about it. Almost everyone involved and everyone who was asked about it backstage has said that they thought Hangman Adam Page was trying to sell pay-per-views. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. When I watched that promo, there was a lot of heat behind it. And I didn't really know why. It was all that stuff was still kind of confusing to me. And I mean, in retrospect, it's less confusing. But honestly, Phil Brooks. Phillip Brooks. He's going first name here. God, he's never going to do an interview with me. But if that's really what all of this stemmed from and what this was about, you gotta have thicker skin. And I know that there's other stuff. There's the Hangman Adam Page won't take advice, which, I mean, that's complete BS. Respectfully. I understand, I guess, why Punk may have interpreted wrong. I think a lot of this kind of comes down to miscommunication. And I think Hangman Adam Page probably could have communicated better. That's one thing he definitely could have done better. That being said, I'm not sure if CM Punk is the type of person who, after like that had already happened, I think he's the kind of person that kind of, again, my faraway view of this is he's the kind of person to kind of dig his heels in and hold a grudge. And it's just, that's just what it is. I just cannot fathom someone tanking their whole career or the rest of their career over one line in a promo. Even Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara got over their stuff like very quickly. Like they had a heated conversation. Eddie Kingston famously pie-faced Sammy Guevara, and then okay, it was over. And Eddie Kingston was like, "No, okay, I was the aggressor there. Like we didn't talk. Miscommunication happens. Boom. It's all that needed to happen." For whatever reason, that kind of thing kind of stuck in CM Punk's mind. It would seem to me, and he was never able to get past it. And it is like I hope that there's more for CM Punk's sake, because it really does make him look like he has very thin skin, and I apologize. Like I apologize to him if it's offensive, and if he ever sees this, I doubt he will, but it's just the truth. Like you gotta have thicker skin than that. MGT says that CM Punk only came back for the money. I mean, no, I don't think it was just for the money. Granted, the money was definitely a big motivating factor. He got paid a lot of money to come back, but I 100% believe that there was also a part of CM Punk that knew he had unfinished business in professional wrestling and that wanted to be back. Like this is a dude, like for all the grief we've given him and all the grief that fans have given him and all that, to say that CM Punk does not on some level love professional wrestling, I think it's a lie. You could see it in his return promo, unless he's like a complete sociopath who like is fooled us all, and I don't think that's the case. CM Punk, like the emotion he showed when Righteous Reg asked him that question at the AEW Revolution press conference about ROH and his legacy, like and him crying, breaking down the tears, talking about how he's happy that Tony Khan has the ROH library. Like there's definitely a motivating factor there of he wanted to wrestle and he was doing great. Like for all this, the stuff we've criticized CM Punk for, I've criticized CM Punk for just now. His run in AEW over the past year was spectacular. It was, you for better or worse sometimes, but mostly for better. You could not take your eyes off the screen when he was there because everything he did felt important. Everything he did was entertaining, and everything he did built on something to come later. Like it was almost like a fever dream. I've described it like that, but it was such a great run. It's just so sad that it had to end the way it did. We got MGT in the chat saying, when Chris Jericho says that, you're a cancer, you know you're done. I mean, hey. MGT also says, CM Punk screwed CM Punk. He doesn't give a bleep about the fans. I mean, maybe not. Like, I mean, I don't want to say that because, look, how much does any wrestler really care about the fan? Like, that's a whole different conversation. All I know is, like, from my viewpoint, right, which might not matter in the grand scheme of things, but for what it's worth, I just think you got to have thicker skin if that's what the Hangman Adam Page beef was about. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on with the Elite and things like that, but there we go. We got Surf Wrestling saying CM Punk is another Austin Aries. Oh God. Oh no. Austin Aries. Here's the thing. CM Punk at least waited until the press conference to start torpedoing his career. Austin Aries did it in the main event of TNA's biggest show at Bound for Glory. That was really bad. Excuse me while I take a sip of water. No, that was like really bad. We got Surf Wrestling in the chat saying that they're old tweets from Punk talking about LGBT. I haven't seen those, but Yeah. MGT also says that. Oh, sorry. Surf Wrestling also says MGT, everyone knew that from day one that his motivating factor was money. You're saying this, not me. Surf Wrestling also says, just like how CM Punk showed up on Cameo for a show called Mayans MC. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Surf Wrestling says, Adam Page is a pro wrestler, and I saw matches when he did when he did an MLW with Buckshot Lariat, wound up would pop loud in the ring. That made it awesome for Dark Side. That would make it awesome. This would make an awesome Dark Side of the Ring. This is going to be like some sort of wrestling documentary a few years from now. That's like I can't wait for it. I literally cannot wait for it. It's gonna be spectacular. Eventually, like I think this is not gonna be one of those things where it's gonna be one bombshell report of everything coming out. This, as we've seen, right? It's been a slow progression of details coming out one after another gradually, and I think there's going to be a little bit more to come. But I think a lot of the big nuggets have kind of come out just this week. Surf Wrestling says, everyone was chanting and felt excited for CM Punk. I never was, because I knew it wasn't lasting long, and when that happened, people lost a lot of respect for him. I mean, look, admittedly, I was at All Out in Chicago, or in the Chicago area, and in the building, like, you couldn't help but cheer, because for better or worse, as a person, right, CM Punk is a spectacular wrestler, and I said this too, like, for better or worse, that torpedo that he did on his career at that press conference, you can't, like, we can't lie to ourselves and say that was not captivating. Like, forget the pipe bomb. This is the promo of CM Punk's career. Like, we'll talk about impact. I mean, like, take impact on pro wrestling, like, in general away for a second, but just his career, the biggest promo of his career, it's this. Like, it is this, and he, like, it somehow makes the pipe bomb look smaller. That's how captivating this was. We're a month away. This is a press conference. We're a month out of this. Sorry, almost 2 months out of this, and this is still the biggest story in wrestling. This is 2 months later. This is still dwarfing somehow Vince McMahon retiring from WWE. It's dwarfing Steve Austin main eventing WrestleMania, and it's dwarfing Cody Rhodes joining WWE and leaving AEW. It is the impact this has had on news, the impact this has had on just fan interest is like nothing we've ever seen. MGT in the chat says, it was ROH, it was WWE, and now AEW. CM Punk is always the problem. Yeah, I mean, it's there is a recurring trend here, and it's what it is. We got MGT saying, talking about the pipe bomb, how much of that was scripted? Apparently, according to both WWE and CM Punk, almost none of it. There were parts that they knew that were going to happen, like CM Punk's mic cutting out, but outside of that, they told CM Punk to go air his grievances, or that is at least the story. Anyway, thanks, guys. We're going to keep moving this along and talk about the reports that came out from Dave Meltzer and the Elite. And here's the quote from Dave Meltzer. This is the Elite side, or the Elite's perspective on CM Punk saying that his dog was injured. And the Elite basically said it's an outright lie. I'm going to read the quote from Meltzer. It said, quote, I had heard from CM Punk's side on and off since a couple of days right after it happened, it being the brawl out from All Out. Never in 7 weeks have I heard anyone mention anything about a door opening and hitting the dog. The dog being hurt or anything like that, I just found that so weird. The side that was trying to defend him all along never brought that up once, and now all of a sudden, that's the story. And like I said, the other side just called it a lie. So the Elite claimed that the Larry thing was an outright lie. There are a few other people who have said that apparently this dog story is brand new to them as well. So I'm not saying that anyone's lying here. I'm just going with the reports. It's just like, if that is true, I mean, it is what it is, right? Got to defend your side no matter what. Like, whether or not it was an outright lie, I think, like, again, I will probably never know until that Dark Side of the Ring comes out, or even then, it's all gonna be stories, man. It's all stories. But one thing I can't tell you, like, there are people right now who are like talking about like how, oh my God, the elite and the elite need to be fired for animal cruelty and blah blah blah. Even if this is true, right? Let's assume it is. Even if this is true, to claim that accidentally opening a door and hitting and accidentally opening the door on a dog is animal cruelty, I think is just unfair and honestly kind of disrespectful to and kind of drowns like out real animal cruelty that goes on. Because there's no way that you can claim that, we know that Larry's out right there, sitting like right there inside on this door we haven't opened. We're just going to open it and slam it and hit Larry. No. Like, no. And I assume even if this was true, the last thing they would want to do is hurt an innocent dog. Apparently Kenny Omega, by all accounts, was the one who picked up Larry out of the way and handed him to Mega, who again, chief legal officer of AEW, that the Elite brought with them to when they talked to CM Punk. And by the way, Mega is also essentially Tony's like right-hand woman, or right-hand person, I should say, for the entire company. So there's that. We heard more from good old Uncle Dave Meltzer. This was more about the locker room cancer thing that Chris Jericho said. Basically, the Elite said that they just they came in like to talk to CM Punk, and CM Punk just kind of came in guns a-blazing and fighting. We got Testosterone in the chat saying Nick Jackson super kick Larry. Boldface lie there. Although here's the thing. The meme of I'm not gonna lie. It's just so funny to me. Every time I hear the Elite like story of them kicking down the door, it's so funny to me because in my head, Matt and Nick Jackson in stereo super kick the door open and like slap their knees when they're doing it. Like you said, or like slap his thigh when he's doing it too. Like in my head, that's the meme version of what happened, and it's just so funny to me. But by all accounts, that is not what happened. And it's just great. Testosterone says I'm trolling, bro. I love it. I'm here for it. But yeah, so I mean, look, the meme of that is amazing to me. Like, just in my head, like that's almost what happened. Basically, I'm just like, if they did kick down the door, that's exactly how it would go. Like, boom, super kick party. Oh man, yeah. So we're having fun here, guys. If you're just joining us, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to that notification bell. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a 5-star review on this episode. So the finality of all this and kind of my thoughts on this. From all accounts, it looks like CM Punk is on his way out. Nick Hausman did report that there was basically a communication breakdown between AEW and CM Punk's side, that the two sides basically are really not on good terms, it would seem. And we know that there's talks of a buyout of his contract. That would seem to be the route that they're going to go. Only hang-up would be whether or not he wants to go to WWE. If I had to say what's going to happen here, I said it on a stream before, I'll say it again. I think this is it. Like, look, never say never. Obviously, never say never. I think that is it possible? Like, I'm not saying there's a 100% chance CM Punk will never wrestle again. No, because in the past years taught us to literally never say never about pro wrestling. Steve Austin main evented Mania. Cody Rhodes had the biggest match at WrestleMania this year. Vince McMahon retired. Wrestling is a crazy, crazy, crazy world. Anything can happen. If CM Punk were to main event All Out next year, would I be surprised? Absolutely. Would I be shocked? Absolutely. But would I have thought that this is never going to be a possibility? No. Because that's pro wrestling. So It's possible. And here's the thing: if I was like Tony Khan, like you don't want to lose the locker room. That's the biggest thing. If CM Punk is that big of a problem in the locker room, and the locker room is doing better without him, then you just have to go with that. That's just it's not worth it at that point. But if CM Punk was able to somehow make amends with the locker room, was willing to work with the elite, and the elite were willing to work with him, which does not seem to be the case. There's a few big AEW stars who apparently don't want to work with him. Chris Jericho, reportedly one of them. So it's difficult to see him back in AEW in the current atmosphere, given what he's just done. Time heals all wounds, apparently, so we'll see. I mean, Warrior came back eventually. Bruno Sammartino came back to WWE. So never say never. But I think as far as is I'm concerned, and if I had to bet, I think this is the end of CM Punk in wrestling full-time on a major wrestling show. Could it change? Who knows? Freddie Prinze Jr. might launch the biggest wrestling company in the world in the next 10 years. Who knows? No, but yeah, we'll see. So, again, what do I make of all this personally? Like, I go back to my comment about CM Punk not having thick skin on this issue, at least. I think miscommunication is the name of this unfortunate game that everyone was involved in. It was way too much miscommunication. People obviously did not talk to each other well. People misunderstood each other. But at the end of the day, man, CM Punk, like, I understand going off, and I understand being mad. Had it just been the Scott Colton stuff, I mean, I did not agree with the way he kind of aired that out there. That's what it is, but he did it, and look, he won the court case, so that is what it is. But man, like, the other stuff just seemed like, come on, Phil, come on, just couldn't handle it behind closed doors, so he brought it out into the light, and now his side is reaping what they sowed, unfortunately. But we got MGT in the chat saying, if CM Punk ends up in WWE, he'll look like the biggest hypocrite. Well, here's the thing. Because remember, it's so wild. CM Punk's first promo, right, in AEW was him saying, like, on August something 2005, I left professional wrestling. And on, what was it? It was like August 21st, 2021, I returned to professional wrestling, basically insinuating that his entire time in WWE was not professional wrestling. So if he does end up going there, like, people are going to call him out for that. But people have been calling CM Punk a hypocrite for a long time. I mean, there was that famous quote from his DVD, right, that I can't change the business from my couch in Chicago. And then, like, basically a year and a half later, he was on his couch in Chicago. And that's not me saying, like, that in a derogatory way. That is just, that was the kind of correlation and made from wrestling fans about that. So, messy situation, the CM Punk Elite stuff is, isn't it? Messy situation. I'm trying to think. I believe there was one more note from this. Let me see if I can find it. Guys, great time. We are heading down the home stretch of this episode, so be sure to put your questions in the chat, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. As I try to find my last few notes on this story, because again, I just kind of wanted to encompass all of this stuff into one big thing and just talk about it, answer some questions if possible. Oh, I want to say I did go to New Japan Strong Rumble on 44th Street last night. Late showing to that one. But it was good. It was a really good show. I got to see my boy Filthy Tom Lawler. Big shout out to Filthy Tom and Team Filthy. Team Filthy. Love to see Filthy Tom Lawler. He's great. He's entertaining all the time. Got to see Minoru Suzuki and Ken Shamrock like stare off with each other and then hug it out. That was great. Big Clark Connors. Look, I know I make fun of him. I call him Hangman Adam Beige, but I love you, Clark Connors. Like, it's all an act. We love you. Just having fun. But no, he had a good match with Minoru Suzuki, and I thought it was cool. Got to see Gresham wrestle, Fred Rosser. A lot of cool stuff that happened on that show. Wheeler Yuta showed up. We had the return of DC's own Leo Rush. So a lot of cool stuff happened at Rumble on 44th Street last night. And I was really glad I got to be there for that. I did miss Kazuchika Okada and Eddie Kingston in that tag team match. Really mad about that, but had to leave early. It is what it is. We'll get it. Mission failed. We'll get him next time. So there's that. Oh, so the other thing that I wanted to talk about was, or just mention quickly, was the Bryan Danielson comments. Apparently, Bryan Danielson did like an interview recently where he was talking about locker room leadership and what kind of like the locker room leaders have meant to the company. And when he was naming his locker room leaders, he mentioned Moxley, he mentioned Jericho, and he mentioned the Elite. Did not mention CM Punk. Is what it is. Maybe he can't because of legal reasons. They're trying to buy him out. He's injured. Like there are legal reasons for them not to talk about CM Punk. So that's it for me on CM Punk. But yeah, so messy situation. Hopefully we don't have to talk about it and go in depth about it much longer because there's so much good wrestling happening right now, guys. We're in the home stretch to Full Gear. Sami Zayn is God's gift to the world with what he's doing right now. His facial reactions. He looks like a Syrian Santa Claus, just like a ginger Syrian Santa Claus, who's just like happy to be there in the bloodline. He said Jey Uso isn't acting too Usi. I love that line. Sami Zayn, Wrestler of the Year. Hot take. I think Sami Zayn should be the one to take one of the belts off of Roman Reigns. Hot take. I love him. I love him. And I would love to see a Muslim world champion. That's just me. But guys, this has been a lot of fun. MGT, Testosterone, Surf Wrestling, everyone who's joined, everyone who's listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or watching this on a delay. Thank you so much. Hopefully, again, we don't have to do another one of these about CM Punk, the whole CM Punk thing, but who knows? Wrestling's a weird place. But either way, we're going to have it all covered. We got a lot of great stuff planned in the future. So be sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. For those of you listening, go over to youtube.com/Real Take Wrestling for all your wrestling-related needs. Until next time, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Be happy, be healthy, and keep it real.